Hello, it's Janine Stefanucci again. Sorry, it's been a minute. I promised I'd be online about 3 Mondays ago. My cat got hit by a car. We have two deaths, one close friend in age and another close friend OD'd. And just been going through some stuff, but I hope everybody had a good holiday. If you remember me, I started a YouTube page talking about abuse, if you were abused, or my story of being abused, both together. So, for those who are following, it starts with the one with the green shirt, and the second one's the pink shirt, and today is a dress for Memorial Day. I hope everybody had a great holiday. I'm kind of glad I had a little break, because I had time to figure out what I was going to talk about, and I got my tooth fixed, too, so I can smile now. And I am blessed that I can smile now. My story is just weird. Hell, I never fit in nowhere. And I explained earlier that in the bathroom I saw and heard things, and I guess my mom had hit me because I was talking to things on the wall and stuff, and I guess I was born sick, but I do handle it the best I can. I take all my meds, I do what I'm supposed to, at the best I can do, and I feel okay. I'm okay. Before my stepdad had came into the picture, I had been abused before that, which I had mentioned what happened in middle school, and I had mentioned what happened in kindergarten, but it just was, even at home, like, I couldn't fit in with the kids, and I couldn't fit in with the adults either. Everybody always wanted to try to figure out a way to get rid of me. I used to be a real sweetheart, real nice, and to be honest, I have been abused so long that I actually became very defensive, and it turned into me being abusive and like a jerk. I really want to say the A word. And now I want to fix that, but I'm so scared if I'm nice that somebody will use me, take advantage of me, because I was a vulnerable person. I'm still sensitive, but I am a woman. And I have to be a strong woman because I survived rape more than one time and by more than one person. And I remember the last time my stepdad raped me. I was in a town, and I believe that house was haunted. It was on a couch, and I don't even remember if I owed him something or not, but when I went to scream, I couldn't. How is that not rape? Another part of the story, how I would explain this is, my stepdad didn't just stop at my minor ages. It went on to older ages. And to this day, he still say it was my fault. He says that he wrote me a letter before telling me he wanted to marry me because my mother had passed. And he is the only man that knows everything about me. I was never attracted to him or anything. I never wanted to do anything with him. It started out, where he had a job that I could go along, and I would help him a little bit for some dough. And I would have my little tapes, and I loved making tapes. So music is like a big hobby of mine. And I would make tapes and listen to them and check them on the ride, and I could get away from my mother and give her a break or give me a break. So I would go with him as I liked nighttime, and I wanted to make some money, and eventually he saw me picking up cigarette butts off the ground and figured out, okay, she smokes. Well, if you come with me, I'll give you cigarettes, because I didn't want to go all the time. But again, do you want to stay with your mother? Okay, I'll go. So then it started. He took me to a place that had insulated water, and we'd swim in it. People knew about it. It was off a highway, and people would baja there, party there, get stuck there. The water was like room temperature in November, and I still hear the crickets. I still hear the frogs of him taking me there at least the first couple of times, go swimming, and all I had was a t-shirt. He never bought me a bathing suit, and I didn't want to. But when I felt the water, it was warm, and I went swimming. And then that's when it started. Of what I remember. And I'm not going to remember all of it, and I'll explain in a minute why. I do remember him saying that my boobs were bigger than my mother's. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know why he said that, but I never forgot it. Because my mother hated me in a way. Probably because I was sick. Maybe she didn't want to admit it. And that's why I never was on meds until I was 23 years old. And I got a GED with that. I passed school, which was torturous also. I was by myself the whole time. Long story short, then if I didn't do what he said, any secret I told him, he would tell my mother. And if I got grounded, I couldn't go anywhere, which means I was stuck with her longer, and I wasn't allowed up in my room, ever. I couldn't have friends over, never. Nobody was allowed in my house, nobody was allowed to have sleepovers. I couldn't cook in the kitchen. There was an accident with popcorn. I kind of went to get my mother when the fire started on the Jiffy Pop, and we didn't have a kitchen by the time we got back. I guess I was kind of born with no common sense, but I'm trying to learn it. Not everybody has everything. I'm smart in my ways, you're smart in yours, but I would like to have more common sense if it could be taught. And better instincts now. Since I've been abused, I got to beat my own battle now not to be abusive and to just be me and relax. And with everything I know, don't let anybody hurt me again, So after the cigarettes, alcohol came in the picture the same way. And but the thing was, I got hooked. But he's not the reason why I got hooked faster. I mean, it was free alcohol. As long as he promised not to touch me each time, and he would promise, and then I get drunk, and I really don't remember much except being filled up, and I just know behind a barn he tried to sleep. I know one time we were Bajaing, he got stuck and he was getting ready to have sex without my permission. I prayed to God so hard, and headlights came up behind us because we were stuck Bajaing. Saved my life that night, but it happened anyway. Well, as I grew up, I lost my mom at a young age, and at 23, and I kind of went bananas because me and my mother never got along. It was always fight, to physical. Sometimes it got bad, and not that I ever wanted to hit my mother, but at one point I hit her back and told her, "How you like it? You've been doing it to me since I've been born." And there was another time, I have a sister who has Down syndrome, and she would hit her. And we got a lot of beatings. I don't know why. If she was mad, I don't know. I'm alone. But when one time I told her never to touch my sister again, and I would take care of her. I was a nurse's aide at the time. So they'd give me free chalks, free sheets. And I would do my sister, because she wouldn't hold her vomit or her bowels when my mother took care of her. She was scared. Me, no problem at all. So I have a talent. That's just one of them. So when that happened, it happened. It was the second time I just pushed her against the wall, and I should have done that. But she got me back. I had a daughter later on, and I had her in my arms. And my mom, out of the blue, just punched me in the stomach, and I had to take it because I had my daughter in my hand. She said, "That's for pushing me about Michelle. I'll treat her any way I want to." So this is the kind of life I had. But my mom and me got along in the end when I had my own place in the family and she had her own place. And then she realized the truth and took my side. But then it was too late. She was already dying, and now I put it all together. She wasn't a candy striper. She was probably going for chemo. So at 23 years old, she died. So I was a full-blown alcoholic before my stepdad actually came, because I wanted to get away from my mom during the day, of course, if I could go out. And I had to be extra strict, like even before dark. We had a murder in the family also. So I know they were overprotective. Everybody was overprotective, but when I went out, I had nowhere to go because I was made fun of. But these one kids I thought were cool. Maybe I could get in that group. But they got to a point where they told me, if you don't drink, or if you don't touch this girl, or lick this, do this, smell this, kiss this, do this, do that. If I didn't do what they said, they would call my mom, and my mom would beat the shit out of me for being there. And if I had just left, I'd been by myself, just sitting on the curb crying somewhere. So I actually got forced to drink that way, in a truth or dare kind of girl guy stuff. And I was born with a sexual addiction also. Actually, just the last 10 years, my hormones have slowed down due to medication that I'm on, thank God, but sex is definitely an addiction. I'll get to that someday. But I've beat it, so that's good. But when my stepdad would just keep blackmailing me, and then after my mom died, we couldn't take the house. I had a family, we couldn't take the house. I broke down because I finally had a mom who believed me, and then she got taken away. And I lived in hell for 4 years. I wouldn't talk to God. And in Philadelphia, I got better. Somehow, some way, a church saved my life in Philadelphia. And you know what? I'm blessed in a weird way. I must have a lot of angels, because I got my second DUI when my mother died. I had 20 shots of tequila in 20 minutes. I went to get the keys to bring them into the bartender, and some guy, maniac, came out with money outside, banging on my window, saying, I know where you... He just was... I thought in my head something was going to happen to me, so I put the keys in ignition. But I can finally get my license back. Everything's been turning around for me now. Just dealing with everything, one problem at a time. And I know that's hard, because I have like 18 problems in one day I got to work on. It seems like I have so many, but just take little goals, not the big ones. My stepdad ended up giving me alcohol, which was free, and I would go out when I was grounded. That was how I got out. My stepdad, and that was the only way I could drink, because these people that made me do all this stuff would make me drink. And then later on, pot came along, and then finally I beat one of them up, and I became friends with them. So then they became, we connected with marijuana, which I say should have always been legal. Okay, stepdad. So the alcohol became so intense because I was already an alcoholic. I liked getting drunk, I guess, but I was so drunk I only know bits and pieces. So I remember throwing up in a shower in a motel room, naked, and I couldn't even do anything because I was so drunk. I remember the night that I told on him with my little grandma, and I was going. She said, "You're late. You're late. You're late." I said, "Look out the window." She said, "No, she's yelling." I said, "No, look out the window." And she saw my stepdad, and I said, "Call my mom and tell him that he just raped me again." And it was behind the bar was the last time in that neighborhood. But it went on because I didn't know there were shelters or anything like that out there, like when you're homeless. Because I lost my mom, and then when I had a nervous breakdown, the 4 years brought me down hard. And I couldn't even see my kids. I just had a breakdown completely. But once I found out 4 years later that my mom had a diagnosis, for some reason, I believe she's in a better place. And now they've been working on me and my diagnosis. And so far, it was hard at first because doctors don't know us from Adam. But it might take a while a medicine to work. It might take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, but you got to try it, They don't know us any more than we know them, but that's their job, I do prefer experienced people because they know how it is. But I just had 2 friends relapse from 20 years clean, both of them. It was weird watching the other side. So after my mom died, let's just say I ended up in Princeton, and I moved around a lot. I worked here and there and did this and did that, but I ended up getting put on disability. And the thing is I was trained already to kind of, if you want this alcohol and this drug, well, you have to do this. And when I got older, and every guy I went out with hurt me at this point, I just grew up thinking that I had to do something to earn. And usually it was sex, because I was having that problem at the same time. Like, if I'm good at sex, they'll keep me. If I learn something, don't ever do it on your first date or your second. Get to know somebody. There's diseases out there, number one. You always wear a condom protection. Number two, you slept with who they slept with. Do your homework, blood work, everything. Because people say anything. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. I could have died another way, and I'm still here, and I'm doing well. Whether if I was with somebody or not, I'm fine. After I was at the father of my second daughter's house, which I'll get into kids and stuff later. I had 3 kids. I had to move, and I had to move quickly. So I had moved. My stepdad had left a message on the phone that he, out of the blue, that he apologized for everything. He wants to be a dad. He was crying and this and that, and I needed a place to go. I went there, shared my bedroom. It was nice. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Told me the rules of the house, blah, blah, blah. By a week, I was raped. And I had nowhere to go. He wouldn't let me out the house because he had cameras everywhere. I don't know if I was paying a fine. He wouldn't give me money for the fine. I was either jail or his house. That was his trap. And if I wanted beer, cigarettes, and another drug I picked up, which nobody would understand, would be paint. When my mother died, I was on probation, and I got caught with coke. I got caught with alcohol. So that wasn't working. I ended up on probation. And some dingbat taught me how to huff Rust-Oleum and paint. And I ended up doing it for 23 years. And I'm lucky to be alive. And I'll get into that later also. 23 years. And people think it's funny. How could you do that? You're, up to like 30. How could you do that? I could never stick a needle in my arm. You know what I mean? So I guess it's a different thing for different places. Paint blacked me out and put me in a fantasy world and not in this one. See, I have a real problem with reality now because I'm still early in recovery, trying to do my best. And I'm not that early, but I'm early in learning life. This is only my second year out here. And learning emotions, learning any emotion. I mean, I was brought up completely wrong, hit by my mother, threatened, verbal. Stepdad, I ended up moving with him, and he started again. I had nowhere to go, as I was saying, and it turned into rape after that, after rape. One day, and yes, I did drugs before. I mean, look, what I was trying to forget, where were they happy, school or home? Where did I have to go? But I will respect this one person watches this video. Is an officer who told me he went through hell, and instead he's a cop and did nothing wrong. I respect you, but I was brought up different. I was brought up to do favors for favors. And that's how I grew up. And like I said, thank God I'm alive. But don't get me wrong, I have relationships. So I love people and didn't do anything. But, I just can't do that no more. I don't want to do nothing. But it's a scary way to live. Because of people that abuse people. It messes up our heads for life. I would suggest never find a relationship right away when you're abused, because you're vulnerable and because you need to love yourself before you really can truly love somebody. When my stepdad called, now this is when I was above age, like 20-something, and my stepdad got me again. And one night we were looking for drugs, and The guy said all he had was heroin. And I don't do heroin. I would, like I said, I never stick needle in my arm. But I was like, all right. And then he's like, then I found crack afterwards. It was all messed up. Doesn't mean did something like that big. I am against heroin completely, because that one time I got drug raped. I had to take care of my stepdad that night, and he made me. And then I somehow, the heroin and the coke brought somebody else out of me. And I remember bits and pieces of being on top and stuff, and I'll admit it. 2 days later, I put my stepdad in a stranglehold. I was huffing my paint in the room next door. The fumes traveled. First, I told my brother the truth about what was going on. I was watching TV, and I didn't care how his response was. I was getting ready to kill my stepdad. I put my arms around his neck, something my real father taught me, and I wouldn't let go for nothing. He started turning color and drooling and all that, and I let him go at the last second, said, "Pwah, you ain't worth it." Every time I don't try, every time I give up, he's winning. He still thinks to this day that it's both our faults. Why? Because I had an addiction, or because I was a young kid? Like I said in the first video, did you want to marry me or my mom? He didn't understand that I was still a minor. All right, I'll see you next week. Thank you.